On Friday, which means it's time for this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Christmer. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, to help you mastermind to grow your real estate business. And what we're talking about today, we've talked before about a farm area. So if you're watching this and wondering if we're talking about literal agricultural farms, we're not. We're talking about the customer base that you're advertising to, the specific geographic area that you're advertising to, that you're trying to solicit business. See, in real estate, our business is all based on a physical address because somebody's going to be buying, selling, renting, or leasing that physical address. So all of our customers can be categorized somewhat by location. So it's a very effective strategy to target a particular neighborhood, especially when you're trying to gain market share. So that way people think of you and that you're top of mind when they think about real estate services. When they think, I need to buy, I need to sell, you want your name, your brand, your company, your organization, your team to be top of mind. So that way they're going to pick up the phone and call you, or email you, or go on your website, or somehow get in contact with you rather than all the other real estate agents that are out there. And part of this farming strategy, as it's called, for choosing this area and focusing on this area, this isn't a one and you're done type of exchange. This isn't a I send a letter to this neighborhood and I'm just overwhelmed with business. This is a long-term strategy where over time you nurture this group of people that live in this neighborhood that you're targeting your advertising towards. And you share information, you inform them, you educate them, you show value. And that way they begin to develop a relationship with you where they will trust you. Because once you can establish that level of trust, and it doesn't come easy, you want to come across that you are the expert, the professional, but at the same time, a professional that they could trust. Somebody, when you tell them something, they actually listen to what it is that you say. So many realtors or professionals of any profession like to complain about, oh, my customers won't listen to me. The reason why they won't listen to you is they do not see you as a professional. And you could say that that's your problem, but having a degree, having a real estate license, that doesn't automatically create a relationship. That automatically doesn't assume that you know what you're talking about, at least from their perspective. So you need to show them, you need to educate them, you need to inform them why you are the professional that is best suited for whatever their needs may be when they come about. And the other part of this, just before we get out of this opener here, the other part of this that we're going to be talking about as well is, again, doing this in a way that develops a relationship, not just constantly pounding for sales. Because that is just the marketing that we get bombarded with every single day. And if that's what you're doing, you're not going to stand out and you're not going to be effective at developing that relationship that's so crucial and essential when you're trying to have an effective farming strategy. So that's today's topic. If you guys got questions, we're live here. Drop your comments in the chat. My name is John Christmer. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. You're watching State of Real Estate.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Charisma. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, to help you guys mastermind to grow your real estate business. And what we're talking about today is farm area follow-up. Farm area follow-up. Now, what is the farm area again? The farm area is the geographic area. Think of yourself like a prospector mining for gold or mining for diamonds. You're not going to just go a couple inches deep here and a couple inches deep here. No, you're going to keep digging and going and going and going deeper and deeper into the earth until you find diamonds, meaning you're taking your efforts and you're focusing them. Focus is the key to an effective marketing strategy. Dialing in who it is that you're targeting. pinpointing a particular geographic area, a neighborhood that has high turnover, where there's a high amount of home sales in relation to the total number of homes in the neighborhood. You just take the home sales and divide that by the total homes in the neighborhood to find the percentage of homes that have sold in the last 6 months or a year or whatever time frame you're looking at with that. So you pick that neighborhood because you see, okay, this area could be prime for me taking some market share. It has a high turnover. There's no other agents that are dominating that particular market. So let me hone in my efforts on this area. And one of the things that people like to do, at least the old school method, but one of the ones that comes top of mind and really is easy to think of when you're thinking of doing a farming area, because again, this is based on a tangible area and physical addresses, is you could do mail. And that could be a letter, that could be a packet even, that could be a postcard. Depending on your budget, depending on your expertise in this here, will change a lot of the different factors. And this is where you could have some creativity, where you could try to stand out. Remember, that's the goal here, that you want to stand out as the knowledgeable professional so you can facilitate a relationship. So you've got mail, and this is a great way to start because it's easy. You could find the addresses. There's a million ways to find the addresses for a particular area. If you have access to the MLS, there's all kinds of services right built in already. They could give you the addresses of a particular area. The post office, they have programs like Every Door Direct Mail and all kinds of things like that you could utilize to be able to use the mail service to send people mail. And trust me, this does work. It doesn't work overnight. That's very rarely do you send a letter and the next day you get a lead that's a hot lead that needs to buy or sell right now. So remember, this is about time. And even if you're using more advanced digital strategies than just old-fashioned mail, whether you're using Facebook, Google ads, maybe you're getting into TikTok ads, whatever it may be that you're using to reach these people. Because remember, that's who you're talking to. You're talking to people that probably own the home that they live in, or maybe they don't. Now, how do you figure that out? There's a way to look at the address of record of the owner. And if the address of record of the owner is different than the physical address of that property, chances are that might be a rental property where the people living on that property are more likely to be tenants. And this is really where you could start sifting through the data to really segment and give the right information at the right time. Now, the timing, that's hard, especially when you're trying to group people together. Whenever you're grouping people together, especially a small group of people, it's really hard to line up that timing. But the larger a group of people you're dealing with, you can kind of line up the timing of your messaging and your marketing. That's what we've talked about before with pipelines. When you have a pipeline of customers, where you have customers that need your services right now versus customers that need your services in 6 months to a year, you're going to have different messaging that you use with the people that need your services now as opposed to the people that are thinking about buying, selling, whatever it is they're planning on doing. But they're a year out, 6 months out, 2 years out, or whatever it is. But they're starting to think about it, meaning that they're at least somewhat interested. And remember, this is the biggest purchase or sale of these people's lifetime. Most of the time when they're buying or selling a home, it's usually the biggest deal they've done yet. Maybe it's not quite the biggest. Maybe they bought a more expensive home before. But even if that's the case, it's still a big transaction with a lot of things that could go wrong and a lot of things that scare them. And that's what we're there for. We're there to help guide them through this process so they're not scared. So rather than it being a scary process, it's an enjoyable process. A process that you move through with ease. And not only is that good for the client, that's good for you. Because that's a lot less stress for us as the professional when things just go according to plan, when things go smoothly. But that's where you kind of try to get into the right information at the right time. Now, if we're trying to do that same concept of right information at the right time with a farm area and following up with them, that's the other part of this that I want to be really tying into this here, but just really for the initial messaging. So your initial messaging, and we're just going to use mail. You could do this also through digital methods as well, although that gets a lot more advanced and a lot more complicated very quickly, especially if all that is brand new to you. We've all probably sent a letter in the mail before, and we know how that system works. So we'll just stay on the mail topic, but you'd easily duplicate these same strategies through digital methods as well. So you need an introduction first and foremost. And that's a good first marketing piece, whether that's mail and look, you could also, if you don't want to send this through the mail and you also want to get better results, you could skip the mailbox and just bring yourself there physically and go door knocking. Now, if you're a little hesitant on door knocking and you got a little bit of money to spend, maybe you try getting to their homes through the mailbox. And also, as you're trying to scale and grow your business, this is much more scalable because there's so many hours in the day that you could be knocking on doors. Whereas this, there's really no limit on how much mail you could send for the most part. But anyway, so starting off with some sort of introduction, because these people don't know who it is that you are. Now, especially if you're starting out with an introduction, you're probably going to get absolutely zero business out of this whatsoever. But remember, the goal isn't to get immediate business because that's not going to happen. Assume that your first round of marketing that you're doing to your farm area, to your audience, you're not going to get any response from it. Why? Because if this is a cold audience, they don't even know who you are yet. If this is a cold audience, if you've never marketed to these people before in this neighborhood, they have no idea you even exist. So you've got to introduce yourself. Now, don't get too wrapped up in your bio. They don't care about that. They're not going to read an essay, a 5-page paper of your biography. I've seen some of these biographies that people will have where they just go on and on and on and on about themselves. And I get it if you're trying to put a bunch of keywords in there for search engine optimization, but rather than just putting all that information in a biography, have other content that's not just about you. They don't care just about you. They care about the home buying process, and you're just part of that process there to make it easier. So you want to educate and inform about other topics, and that's what we're really going to be moving into past that introduction. The introduction is really the only one where you're really talking about yourself at all, and most of the people probably aren't even going to look at this one. But, maybe they look at it and they say, okay, this person's introduced them. And they might not even remember that, but they get that second round of marketing, that second round of mail, that second letter, that second postcard, whatever it may be. And being that you've already introduced yourself, and even if your first letter isn't really talking about yourself at all, it's still introducing yourself to that particular market. So keep that in mind as you structure the creative text. And don't spend too much time either on trying to craft the perfect message. Why? Because remember, this is probably going to end up in the garbage. It's probably going to end up in the trash. That's what happens most of the time when you send somebody marketing in the mail. They throw it out. They say, oh, this is junk mail. They throw it out. Does that mean don't do it? No, that means do it more. It means do it more because as they start to see it, as there starts to be repetition, they start to take notice of it. And then when it comes time that their mind happens to wander onto that topic of, you know what, I think we need to sell our home. Oh, what's that one guy that we always get his letters in the mail from? Let's call him. I mean, he seems like he's pretty knowledgeable out the area. Maybe we'll call some other people too, but let's start with him. Or maybe they're like, oh yeah, let's call him. We definitely want to use him. I mean, he's the local expert. That's the effect of farm area, but that takes time. That takes time to dial that in, and it takes repetition. And that's really the big follow-up portion of this. Your farm area is nothing without follow-up. If you are not following up with your farm area, you don't have a farm area. Think of a farmer, because that's what this whole analogy of the farm area is about. This whole analogy of the farm area is about a farmer planting seeds. If that farmer planted seeds and then just abandoned his fields only to come back 6 months later and expect there to be a bountiful harvest just on its own, would he be a very good farmer? No, he wouldn't be. Because to be a good farmer, you've got to be out there every day tending your crops. Or at least probably, I don't know how often they need to be out there. I'm not a farmer, but I know they need to be out there taking care of those crops. Otherwise, they won't turn into the delicious things that they're growing. And that's for us to be able to get that same reward when we're marketing to a particular area. Our first message, that introduction, that's just you planting the seed. But that doesn't guarantee that's going to grow into a plant, and maybe it does grow into a plant, but if you're not taking care of it, maybe somebody comes in and reaps the harvest. So that's why the follow-up portion of this is so important. So your introduction, first and foremost, however that may be, your first message is going to be introducing yourself to this particular audience, this farm area, these people that you're mailing to. And then, like I said, educate and inform. That's everything it is that you should be doing. You educate and inform, educate and inform, educate and inform, educate and inform. Why? Because then they begin to look to you as the expert. If they happen to take an interest in the message that you are sharing with them, which they probably will, especially if you make that message about them, people are interested in themselves. If you haven't noticed, they're interested in themselves, they're interested in the things they own, including their house. So maybe one of the things that's really popular sending out some way, somehow, whether that's through the mail or through some digital means, is market reports. Now, this is only part of the strategy, because if all you do is send market reports, you're probably just going to confuse them. Most people, at least. Some people will understand kind of what's going on here. Other people, even if they could read the numbers and kind of make sense out of the numbers, they're not the professionals, so they're really kind of just guessing at stuff. So if you do some sort of market report, what I would highly recommend, really what I would ultimately recommend, is have a video to go along with that. And if you do send something like this out, you could have a link to a video or a QR code they could scan, or better yet, you go door knock the neighborhood and introduce yourself. And this works a lot better after you've been doing this to warm up the neighborhood, because as you've been marketing to that particular neighborhood, they start to understand who it is that you are. And they might even recognize you. And so they say, wait a minute, oh yeah, you're the guy that always sends us the letters, and then I see you. If you're pairing up your digital strategy with this, which you should be, there's tools in Facebook, YouTube, all these programs and platforms where you could target that geographic area, and that works so well with this. You know how hard that is for other businesses to target exactly the customers they want, because their customers are all over the place. But when you choose a farm area, you're focusing on that particular area. And it's not going to be quite as precise as you sending a letter to every individual address typically. There might be some overlap, there might be some people ending up in there, but it's also a lot cheaper, so that also makes up for the little errors and the cons and the downsides to the digital marketing. But you pair those things together, and it's almost guaranteed that they're hearing your message some way, somehow, whether it's through their mailbox, through their email, through social media, through your ads that you're sending out, whatever the case may be. And that way they begin to trust you. And that way, if you're out there door knocking on this neighborhood, these are people now that are going to be much more receptive to you, especially if they recognize you. They might see it's almost like a celebrity status. Not really, because we're not really that important. But when people recognize you without you knowing who they are, that's kind of cool. And not only is it kind of cool, but it also means that they're a prime candidate for a customer, because they already trust you. They already follow you. They already know you. Think of all you have to do to get to that level when you've got a new customer that comes to you. Whereas when you have a farm area and you're following up with that farm area, you establish that relationship before there's even a need for your real estate services. And when it becomes time for the need for the real estate services, becomes someday they're going to have that need for real estate services. It's just a matter of you sticking around long enough to be able to fulfill that need when it lines up. Remember, the right information at the right time. It's not the right time when you first meet them most of the time. That's just when you meet them and when you begin building the relationship. But sometime they're going to need, in the some near future, they're going to need real estate services. And you want to make sure that you're top of mind, but you're not going to be top of mind if you don't have a relationship with them. So that's what the farm area is really all about, building out and really this is all about market share. So market share, that's a big corporate word that a lot of companies use when they talk about what percentage of the market that they I don't want to say own or control, because they really don't own it or control it, but the percentage of market that they're responsible for doing business in. And in the farm area, you're really doing this on a much smaller scale. You're picking a neighborhood of maybe a couple hundred homes, and you're trying to gain market share in that neighborhood. And that's why I said at the beginning, try to make sure that you're choosing an area not only that has good turnover, but that is also ripe for the picking, that doesn't have any other farmers out there trying to reap the harvest in that area. Now, you're always going to see the other transactions done by other agents, but you want to see if there's a pattern. Is there a particular agent that is doing more of these sales than normal? Are there 10 sales and 7 of them are by one agent? Because if that's the case, they're probably doing a really good job farming that neighborhood, and your time and money might be better spent in another neighborhood. Probably will be better spent in a better neighborhood where there's an agent that doesn't have such a significant market share already. But you can be that agent if you find it, and even if it is a neighborhood where there is an agent that has a lot of market share, you could take that market share. It's just a lot more expensive, both in time and money. So especially if you're first starting out at this, you want to find a blue ocean. You want to find a blue ocean. You want to find where all the fish are, and there's no fishermen. That analogy makes more sense. You want to go to the blue ocean where there's no sharks, there's no other fishermen out there. It's just all these fish, and you're just going to take care of them and harvest them. Maybe that's not as good of an analogy. I don't know. Whatever analogy it is that you like about the farm area, the point is that you want to follow up with them, that you want to stay in touch with them. Because this is something that you're doing over years. Remember, the average sale, according to the Association of Realtors, the average homeowner sells their home every 5 to 7 years. So this might be a 7-year timeline that you have from when you first contact them to 7 years out. I would say I would plan for that as a worst case scenario in most markets, to plan for, okay, I need to stay in contact with them for 7 years. How much would 7 years worth of marketing cost me? And would a potential commission I earn off of that be more than that? Because if it is, well, chances are that's going to be a really great farm area. If you really want to get nitty gritty with the details, which I wouldn't recommend, especially when you're first starting out, keep it simple. Turnover, the percentage of turnover, that's going to be the most important when you're trying to choose a farm area. But then once you've chosen that area, don't give up on it. I've made that mistake. The first area that I farmed, that I tried to advertise to, I did it for probably about 10 months. And at the 10-month mark, I was like, I don't know, I got to kind of cut expenses. And we make sense of it because of that. We make sense of it of, it doesn't seem to be working, so let me cut my losses on this. It's not that it's not working, it just hasn't worked yet. Or maybe what you're doing needs a little bit more. Maybe what you're doing isn't quite enough. Because to be honest with you, all I did for that farm area for my first neighborhood, I found a service that created a market report for me and sent out the market report to the neighborhood. And it was a very generic, I didn't even pay for the color one. I think I just sent it out in black and white. Just, I was starting out, I wanted to minimize cost and whatnot. So they sent out these letters for about 10 months, and that's when I was like, this probably isn't going to work, and I quit farming that market. Never really got much business out of it because I gave up on it. And that's what happens when you give up. When you give up on something, it's not going to work. The only way to ensure it does work is to not give up. Maybe you've got to make some changes. Maybe you've got to tweak what you're doing, but you can't just stop it. And why this is extra important here is because it's not that I made the mistake of, this area must not be a good area to farm. That's the reason why I stopped. I said, okay, I'll pick another area to farm, and I went and changed markets. I changed markets, and that, in hindsight, that was a huge mistake because I already invested 10 months of time, money, energy, advertising that particular market, and then I quit on them. And then I moved into a fresh, brand new market and started all over from the beginning. And I'm not the only person to make that mistake. Tons of agents have. That's why it's so important that you do your research up front to make sure, again, that there's a high turnover. Or at least a decent enough turnover that it's likely that you're going to get future business. And you might say, well, what number should I look for? The highest. Look for the highest number you could find. Don't worry so much about whether you like the houses or not. This isn't about the house. This isn't about the neighborhood you want to live in. This is about you generating business. This is about a business opportunity. So don't make the confusion that this is emotional. It's not. This is about you providing a service in a market that is underserviced. Because you're trying to find the market where there isn't an agent being the shepherd of this flock of homeowners. That's what you're there to be. You're there to be their shepherd, to inform them of their home's value, to inform them of tips for resale of the home, for home improvements they can make that add the most value, for different color palettes. Imagine if you could go into a home that They've got the perfect paint colors. They've got it clean. They've got it staged. They've got it all down. And the reason why they've done all that is because you told them to do that through your marketing, through educating and informing them. And they've been doing everything that you've said. And that is such a powerful sign that they trust you. You know, here at Tampa School of Real Estate, I mean, we're all about educating and informing people. And I can't tell you the feeling that I get when we have people that tell us they've been doing what we tell them. Because we know it works. And when we see it work and when we see people doing what we tell them, it's exciting. It's exciting because they're avoiding the pitfalls, because they're taking our advice. And it's such a huge giddy moment for me because it shows that they trust us. That's what you want. You want your customers to trust you. Because when they trust you, everything is easier. Because if you truly are the professional, if you truly know better than they do in matters of real estate expertise, which that should be the case, you're not going to know everything more than them. But when it comes down to real estate, you should be the most knowledgeable person in the room, at least when you're dealing with your clients. Because if you're not the most knowledgeable person when it comes between you and your clients, why would they hire you? So that's why you need to be on a mission to constantly improve your expertise and knowledge, so that way you're always the most knowledgeable when it comes between you and your clients. But it's not where you get condescending and say, well, I've got this degree and that degree, and I got this designation and this specialization, so because of all that, I know better than you do because you don't have a real estate license. No, that's not going to get you any business. That's you just throwing salt in their face. You want to educate and inform them, and this takes time. Trust me, I run a real estate school. Education takes time. Learning something takes time, and that's what you're doing when you're marketing. You're educating and informing them. Or at least 21st century marketing that works. You don't want to just go in sales pitch, sales pitch, sales pitch. That's not good marketing. That's sales. That's not marketing. Sales and marketing are different things. Sales is more about closing the sale. Marketing is about informing them and educating them so that relationship is there when the sale is ready. Now, you've got to be able to be a master of both of those things to really excel to the highest levels of real estate. And that means a lot, to excel at the highest levels of real estate. Even if you get one of these things down, you could probably do pretty well in real estate. But if you could master both the sales side and the marketing side and understand that difference and understand there's a time for marketing and then there's a time for sales and how the two of them can symbiotically feed into each other, that's powerful. So look, that's about all the time we've got for this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I hope this has helped you guys give a little bit better idea of how to effectively follow up with your farm area, because if you're not following up with your farm area, I hate to say this, but you're wasting your time on a farm area if you're not constantly following up with them. And again, don't just send a letter once a month. Utilize every method possible that you could get in contact and communication with them. It's like you're trying to send out smoke signals even. It's like, hey, are you seeing me? People get bombarded by ads every single day, so you really got to make sure that you're standing out and, again, tying in the messaging to something that's going to be relative to them and their property and their home and things it is that they're doing. But also in a way that still shows you as a professional, which I know it sounds like a lot, but that's the art of this. That's the art of this, is trying to build that perfect marketing piece that hits on all these objectives at once. And that's where it's fun. But to make sure this is effective, you just got to know what the messages that you want to convey and the best ways to convey them. And that's what you guys learn about here on these episodes. Or if you want to learn more about farm area and how to get started with the farm area, if you haven't taken post-licensing yet, post-licensing, the deadline is coming up for that. They've pushed it back a little bit for this year, so you guys have a little bit of extra time. But you don't want to be right at the deadline waiting for this, because there's so much information waiting for you that's going to help you accelerate your business. We have a package we call our Complete Jumpstart package that you get signed up for even as a pre-licensing student, even before you have your real estate license, that includes that post-licensing course. And we bundle that together because we know it's so essential to getting you started, hit the ground running once you've got your real estate license. You can't take the post-licensing until after you're licensed, but you don't need to take it right away. You have ultimately about 18 months to take post-licensing, but if you wait until 18 months out, you're going 18 months without all that extra knowledge about growing your real estate business that you really need from day one to achieve the highest levels of success possible in real estate. So get that post-licensing course knocked out right away, or if you're brand new, you don't have your real estate license yet, call us up. We've got, like I said, some bundle pricing that includes the study tools that we have for passing your real estate exam, as well as post-licensing. So call us 813-333-2676. That's 813-333-2676. We've got advisors standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that we can. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you've liked today's episode, if you found it useful and effective information, hit that thumbs up button, because that's how we gauge what information you guys want and what information is ultimately going to be the most correct at that particular stage you're at in your journey. We're trying to group all you guys together here into, okay, what information do you need? So let us know what you're enjoying of these videos. Hit that thumbs up button. If you want to make sure you get notifications whenever we go live, hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of the great free content that we deliver every single day here at the Tampa School of Real Estate. That's all the time we've got for today. If you've got questions, call us 813-333-2676. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you next week.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our